Hi, I'm Joshua Hardwick. I'm the head of content at Ahrefs, and you're watching 100 Days of SEO.
Josh, thanks for joining us for 100 Days of SEO.
Yeah, no worries.
SEO can be overwhelming for some people. I know, especially for beginners, it can be because there's so many different parts, and it's really reverse engineering humans. You know, where do you start, and how do you decide what to prioritize?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's quite a complex topic, I guess, SEO. For people that it's kind of overwhelming, like you say, for beginners. But I suppose the fundamentals of SEO are just kind of the same, whatever you're trying to rank for, whatever you're creating, really. So I'd say usually in any situation, it's just a case of keyword research, creating the content, and building some links to that page and doing on-page optimization and all that kind of thing. So that's just kind of fundamental, the way of doing things across the board for anything, really. But I think there's just so much nuance within that kind of whole process that is what kind of confuses people. I suppose to answer your question, I'd probably look, if I was starting a new site or something like that, I'd look for keywords that, aren't too difficult to rank for, at least initially. Things like, the top 10 ranking pages that are currently there, not having too many links and all that kind of stuff, so that you can actually compete with them without going crazy with the link building. And obviously, keywords and topics that have actually got traffic potential, so people are actually searching for these things. Otherwise, there's no real point in creating content around something, I guess.
Obviously, I use Ahrefs for my projects and for client work at our agency at Click Studios. And then for people that are not, that are just not there yet, that don't need, my argument is always to Ahrefs is expensive, and it's like, it is. And if you can't afford it, you really don't need it, right?
Yeah.
If you're not making any money from your thing, that you can't justify that type of time and financial investment in an SEO tool, because it is a time investment as well. Like, the tool Ahrefs does not do the work for you. You have to learn it, and you have to figure out how to best use it. I've been joking around with people lately that I never used, before I went to Philadelphia to Traffic Think Tank, I had never really used Content Explorer. And now it's what I use mostly in the tool.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, the idea of I need to have a tool to tell me these things. And I think there's some other ways to kind of figure that stuff out. There's a lot of ways to do topical research. And if you're really an expert on whatever you're trying to do, either A, develop that expertise, or B, you already know, you already know what the hottest things are. You know what most people need help with. The search volume will be there. So tell me a little bit, if that's where you start, if we started there, what are some of the next mistakes you see people make, especially beginners? What are some common beginner mistakes you see?
Maybe the most common mistake, and I've seen a few people mention this within the past few years, and it's kind of becoming a bit more of a well-known thing, I think, is that kind of not considering the intent of the search. So obviously it's kind of been around for ages, this kind of search intent thing, where you're basically looking at informational intent, or whether they want to buy something and all that kind of stuff. But I think you still get people that are probably newer to SEO, where they're trying to rank a page that just doesn't really fit within the search results of the keyword they're kind of going for. I think I was kind of looking into this a little bit earlier, because I'm always just looking at keywords, and I think I came across something like vegan protein powder, and I was looking at the search results, and you kind of think, if you sold vegan protein powder, that'd be your go-to keyword that you want to rank for, because it's what you sell. It's probably the most high volume keyword and all that kind of stuff. But then you look at the search results, and it's mainly blog posts. It's top 10 vegan protein powders, and with a few kind of category pages kind of in there, here and there. But you can't. I think if you're a total beginner to this SEO kind of thing, you just think, well, I'll go after that keyword, and that's what I want to rank the homepage for. It's that's what my website sells. So you kind of, and you're just going to be fighting a losing battle, trying to do that, where that's not what people want to see, really. They want either a list of reviews and best protein powders, or whatever the case may be, or they want a page listing lots of different ones, lots of choice to buy, rather than just a homepage where you just, nothing really exists on most people's homepages apart from a bit of blurb about the company and that kind of stuff. But I think that's still, it's still a mistake, I think, for even the kind of really like professional SEOs, it's kind of difficult to get it wrong sometimes, and sometimes search intent's like all over the place. And yeah, I think that's a big mistake that people make.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. You know, I was trying to do the SEO thing, like where you try to put the square peg in the round hole, and you're like, hey, we had this piece of content written on the Click Studios blog, and I was like, it was really a document about how we go to the University of Chicago and teach some classes there, which is a great privilege to like bring young marketers and kind of share our world with them, the side of like digital marketing. But we had documented all this stuff, like a huge 6,000 word article all about like how we teach and how we think about digital marketing skills. And I'm like, cool, we should rank this for digital marketing skills. And I went through and I did all the on-page stuff and whatever. And then when I later was like, we're getting links to it. We have a reasonably authoritative website. And I was like, this just isn't ranking. It's not ranking. And I started like going through, really looking at the intent. And I'm like, people want to learn, like, this is what we have here. Even if I was to push it to the first page by just like a bunch of authority links and whatever else, like it still is not going to stay there very long because it doesn't match the intent of what people want. So I totally agree with you. And it's funny, I saw something from, Nick Eubanks recently from the future. And he was just talking, he's like, oh, you guys are just talking about search intent now. And it's like, yeah, Nick, I'm just getting it now. Sorry. Like we're just kind of figuring it out. So yeah, I totally agree. And I just made a video recently about just like barnacle and parasite SEO, like trying to, like, you're not going to rank for vegan protein powder. It's not a buyer intent. It's a research intent. It's higher up on the awareness funnel. So you want to get on those lists and things like that.
I think the thing with that is it's not always clear just from looking at the keyword either. You kind of, like I say, look at vegan protein powder, and you don't really know what people are looking for just from those 3 words. You can only really start to understand what people actually want to see once you look at the top ranking pages, because obviously Google's just trying to serve the most relevant result to people. So it's kind of like the way to best understand search intent, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was kind of beginner SEO mistakes and kind of over into advanced SEO mistakes. Are there any other mistakes that you see people making, either beginner or advanced?
People probably kind of focus too much on keywords, I think, a lot of the time. Like, I mean, there's obviously reason to do that, because keywords are kind of still important. It makes sense to focus on the thing that people are searching for, the way that people most search for a certain thing. But I think in general, it's kind of most of the pages that I see kind of ranking, if you look at the top keyword that they rank for, like the keyword that they get most of their traffic from, it's still a small percentage of the overall traffic to their web page. So it's like you've got, say, just to use the same example again, if you're going for vegan protein powder, maybe you're getting 1,000 people a month from that exact keyword, but then you'll have like best vegan protein powder and best vegan protein powder for men and all these variations that maybe just get 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 kind of, searches, visitors every month from those. But because you're ranking with just hundreds of those keywords, it ends up equaling, like, the sum of all those keywords is more than the kind of target keyword that you're going for. So I think thinking about things in a more kind of broader sense, like thinking about topics as opposed to keywords, makes a lot of sense these days, and trying to group these things that are effectively the same way of looking for the same thing, just grouping those things together. If someone's searching vegan protein powder or best vegan protein powder, they're kind of looking for the same thing, really. So it's like the page that ranks for one of those terms is going to rank for the other term, and then hundreds of other smaller, less popular ways of searching for things as well. So I think, I think the mistake is kind of people just not looking outside of the keyword and just really just going after the one keyword and then building like, anchor text links for that keyword and having that kind of tunnel vision approach to just this, primary kind of head keyword that they're focused on.
Yeah, I've had people reach out to me and they're like, oh, we want this. If we're going to, like, we were talking about just working together and figuring out ways to build relationships and build links together and stuff. And they're like, all right, well, cool. When you link to us, use this anchor text. And I'm like, I don't think you want that. Like, I don't, don't know. Like, that's, and you just published that article recently all about anchor text and everything. Yeah. And I thought that was super interesting. And I talked about it in our Mashup Monday. We're just kind of like highlighting really good content. And something we've seen a lot of traction about is, writing about things in a branded way, right? Like if I'm referencing Ahrefs' article on anchor text, I'm not going to use I know this is very meta. I'm not going to use the anchor text of the words anchor text. I'm probably going to link to it with a phrase of like, this great article by Ahrefs about anchor text. Like that's going to be like what actually sends people over. And it's more natural, right? Like the whole idea of like exact match anchor text, like not a lot of, it might happen some of the time, but I've done a lot of like research, and I know you've obviously done bigger research, but even in my anecdotal work, like looking at the links we're getting, especially really good, like earned links, like it's never like everything's different. Like all of the kind of anchor texts we get are like 1 or 2%, you know, they're all like one off and random, you know?
Well, I think you kind of touched on kind of another mistake that people make just there, which is that they reach out for a link and they say, you know, I want you to link with this specific phrase. And it's usually the keyword that they're going after. And it's like, you know, most links, as you say, aren't going to naturally occur that way. They're going to be part of a phrase or just using some other words like, you know, Ahrefs or whatever you're linking to. So I think if you do that too much and you're trying to force that, not only are you not going to get the link, you just alienate people by clearly showing them that you only care about the SEO value of whatever they're giving to you, but you're just going to, you know, it's going to look a bit unnatural as well. If you're successful in what you're doing, at least it's going to end up looking unnatural.
Yeah. Best case scenario, you alienate somebody. Worst case scenario, it looks real. And don't act like it's not obvious to Google. Like, oh, cool, you have like 96 links to this with the same phrase on 96 different websites. That's normal. Like they know. It's so easy. Awesome. Well, Josh, I really appreciate you coming on 100 Days of SEO.
Yeah, no worries. And thanks for inviting me on.